So we are on the air and we have Letitia on the phone. Is that correct, Letitia?
Yes, good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to be calling the meeting of the Fargo Human Relations Commission to order. We do have quorum with Letitia joining us by phone. Welcome to the August 15th meeting. I'm Barry Nelson, the chair of the Fargo Human Relations. And I think, Letitia, I'll have you introduce yourself first on the phone.
I'm Leticia Mizero-Herod, and I'm a member of the Fargo Human Relations Commission.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abdiwali Sharif, and a Fargo Human Relations Commission member.
I'm Cheryl Schafel, and I am a commission member.
And I'm John Strand. I'm the liaison from the City Commission.
Thank you. If we could have the staff also introduce themselves, please.
Nicole Crutchfield, Director of Planning and Development.
Catlin Christie, Assistant Planner.
Miranda Wolf.
All right, thank you. So first of all, we have the agenda before us, and I'm looking for approval or amendment of the agenda.
I move a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Abdiwali.
I second it.
Cheryl, thank you. We will move to the minutes. The minutes are also in the packet and before us. Same type of thing, give you a moment to look them over, and then looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Cheryl, thank you.
I second it.
Thank you. I think in this case, we'll just, all those in favor of approving the minutes indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Opposed, same sign. That motion carried. We are going to go right into our presentation this afternoon, and we have with us Lisa Parrish with Musical Bridges. Lisa, thanks for being with us today. I had an opportunity to visit with you. It's going to be a few months ago now, wasn't it? This has gotten to be a delayed kind of thing, but thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here today. So yes, my name is Lisa Parrish, and I am here to ask a question. And the question is, how do we bring unity into our community? So I graduated from the University of North Dakota in 2009 as a music major, and I studied music therapy. And after graduating, I desired to experience life in a different culture because I wanted to expand my horizons and my thinking and how I view life and people. So I took a job teaching English over in South Korea for 5 years. And I was able to use music in my teaching, which in that process, I was able to see how students were able to overcome social barriers in both their native language as well as in English. Students who would never get to speak started to speak more and interact with students that they might not typically interact with. And I also saw improvement with behavior. Students wanted to naturally engage in the activities. And I also saw improvement in their English fluency. So overall, it was improvement in the education factor, social aspects, and behavior. And so when I came back to the States, I thought, what can I do with this experience with music and culture? What can I do with that here? And I thought, well, I can use music to teach English here, but I recognize there's a lot of organizations that are already teaching English, and I totally support that. That's great that they're doing that. That's a need. But I saw a deeper need. But before I go into that deeper need, I want to tell you a story. In South Korea, on my first day of teaching, I wrote the names of my students on the board. And as I wrote their names on the board, one girl bursted into tears, and she was hyperventilating and just hysterical. And I was like, what is wrong? I just wrote her name on the board. And then another student called out, you wrote her name in red. That means she's going to die. And I was horrified. I immediately erased her name and wrote it in black. But I couldn't erase the feelings that she had felt at that time. And the reason that story is important is how often in our daily life do we do things that are normal to us that greatly offend someone of another culture and we don't even know? Or how often do people of other cultures do things that are normal to them that might offend us? And this offense puts up these barriers and resistance to wanting to get to know one another because we think the person in the other side is rude or cold. We get perceptions, mixed perceptions. Or simply we're afraid because they look or act different than ourselves. So how do we bring unity when we have such beautiful diversity in our community? This is not to make everyone like one person or one people group. This is about accepting, acknowledging, and understanding people from all backgrounds. So through my past experience and what I see today, it is my heart to use my experience to bridge unity in the community. So Musical Bridges, our vision. We have a vision to see all people groups, all people, united and loving each other well. Through music and interacting of learning of cultures, children become aware, compassionate, and united. And really, I want to break down the we versus them, us versus them mentality. It's about we, not anything different. How can we bring we, us, vocabulary into our community? So music circles naturally lead the development of skills to play and work well together. Why is this? In music, it is not about English ability or accent. All that is not subjective in the music circle. In the music circle, sound is the language, and how students listen and take turns and interact is how well they play together. And naturally, they're motivated to play well together. So they develop these skills in the music circle that can then be implemented into other work group play environments. We also have cultural lessons which tell students about other countries so they may gain understanding and awareness and break down misconceptions and fear of the unknown. Make it known so that they may be able to interact freely and without fear with everybody. I'm going to skip the next point simply because I am not here to put anybody in a box. I want to talk about we, us collectively, and not label any individual in any category because no person is a category. The objectives are to listen and take turns and communicate ideas that everybody in the circle contributes to these ideas. We do cultural STEAM projects, which is science, technology, engineering, art, and math, as they relate to the cultures that we talk about. When students practice music skills, when students participate in music circles, effective teamwork skills are developed and implemented into other group work and play environments. So these are a list of some of the benefits of the music circle. And one thing I want to emphasize is the sharing of time and space. We have people who love to talk all the time, and we have people who are either too scared to speak up or it's too difficult for them to speak up, so they don't have the opportunity. So these circles create space for everyone to speak and be heard through music and in their activities. So how will this happen? How do we create this? So Musical Bridges is an interactive education program which leads students on a journey of discovery and creativity, collaborative work together to implement their ideas into reality. So our classes break down. We start with a music circle, and then after the music circle, we go into a cultural lesson, and then a STEAM activity, a group STEAM activity, and then students can present and reflect on what they've learned. So here are some pictures of our classes that we've done. We have music circles. So I've done a few different classes in the community, in the West Fargo School District, in Fargo, and also in Moorhead. So we do drum circles, we do sing-alongs, and the goal is to get the kids to engage with one another in a non-threatening environment. Then we move into interactive cultural lessons where the students engage with the content being presented. So right now in our curriculum, we have lessons about South Korea, Somalia, and India, and currently we're working on a project about Japan, and then Kenya is our next one on the list that we'll work on. Then we do group activities where the students have to work together to create either a project or a play or music, and in this case, a dance. These are just some of the activities we've done. For the sake of time, I'll skip the video, but if you would like the video, I can send that to you. It's really fun. So how will the community benefit? The community will benefit by breaking down the misconceptions, which can sometimes lead to conflict. So we bring awareness, and then we understand and appreciate people of all backgrounds. And we find how much we actually have in common. We're more alike than we often think. And it's an opportunity to connect and communicate with everyone and creating space for that. And to develop a multicultural, cohesive community so that we can live in a thriving and joyful community. So the next generation may thrive together. So there's opportunities to get involved. You can contact me for that, for everything from advertisement to developing apps to connecting with the community, curriculum developers, teachers, special assistants. If you have a creative side and would like to draw or write stories about your heritage, no matter what background that is, we would love to have that too. By connecting with those who are different than ourselves, we build bridges for the next generation to share. Thank you. That's Musical Bridges. And my ask today, I was asked to have an ask if I wanted. So my ask is, first of all, to think for yourselves, where in the community is there a need to bridge cultures, where the bridging of cultures would be highly beneficial for that organization or that the purpose of that group. And the ask is to have someone or a group present an opportunity and advocate for Musical Bridges to step into that place and see what we can do in that space. So the ask is for an opportunity, and advocates in the community, leaders of the community, to support the work that we're doing here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Lisa. Questions from the commission for Lisa before we let you go?
My question is, how can we keep you involved? It'd be great to have your energy around more of our activities.
I think I've noticed what's really beneficial is attending regular meetings, because then you're aware of what's happening and then you build relationship with the people. So if there's specific meetings that you would like me to attend or that would be beneficial for partnering, you could invite me to those meetings, and that would be probably the next step that would be helpful.
Lisa, I know you told me this. How do children and families who are interested in participating find you? And how do you take referrals, or if there's even that process?
We have a website, and on the website there's a contact information. So the website is themusicalbridge.com. themusicalbridge.com. And in the top left corner, there's the registration page, but if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a contact, and so you can directly contact through that.
And is there any cost to participants?
That's something we're working on right now, is the cost factor, because we want this to be accessible to everybody. And so that is something I'm willing to negotiate with different organizations. So how it's set up right now is that we partner with an organization, and that organization will offer the class to those individuals. And we are not seeking to be our own entity. We are seeking to partner with already existing organizations, because there's so many great programs out here that we just seek to enhance what's already there. So if there's an after-school program, but maybe they're having some issues with the students, we can come in and help work with those students and help them learn how to collaborate well together. So we're there as a support to the already existing organizations. So I have actually a contract with one location right now. And so that was something that we met with the director, and we talked about the cost in that meeting and how and what that would entail for that specific group. So that's how we're operating it at this time.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. You opened with a great question. And how do we bring a unity to our community? Is something that we should always think about, and we should always work towards it, and to appreciate the diversity. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do you say South Korea, Somalia, and India, right?
Yes, those are the classes that we have curriculum for at this time.
Do you speak those languages too?
I speak Korean, yes.
Korean, okay.
And I learned a few phrases when I did the other classes. That's part of the lessons too, is we get to learn the language, little phrases in other languages. And so students can experience what it's like to learn another language, at least at a basic level.
That's good. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. 안녕하세요.
That's thank you in Korean, South Korean.
Look at you.
So, Chair, if I may,
Please.
Just I had the pleasure of meeting Lisa about a month ago, and but a couple things that before you leave, and I'll reach out to you by phone here, is there's many lovely programs that are in existence that we have. I think the biggest asset we can give as a department anyway is our network and our contacts. And so the Arts and Culture Commission, the program Officer Bloom is doing with their Unity program, and as well as the Boys and Girls Club, and the Kresge Foundation, and the work we're doing with the Fargo Project. So those are some that come right off the top of my head, but would like to kind of bring those networks to you, Lisa, if you don't already have them, as well as brainstorm on some, especially with the Kresge Foundation grant, some of those activities that we might be able to partner on. So I'd like to thank you very much for this introduction.
Well, thank you, Nicole. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Letitia, I want to make sure we keep you involved on the phone. Any questions from you or Cheryl?
I don't have any.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Leticia.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have a question, but I was just going to make a quick comment to commend Lisa for the work that she's doing and the gift that she's giving to our community. Like her focus on children and youth, her children, I think, is also, in my opinion, a very well thought of investment, because we know that change is long term. This kind of change, at least, and focusing on children, I think gives me hope that we can raise like a generation that maybe hopefully sees like the world in a better lenses through unity and peace. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Letitia.
And I don't have a question either. I just want to say how much I appreciate the program. It's a wonderful way to get people interested in another culture, to expose them to a little bit of it, and especially to expose them to a part that's fun.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference. It's a wonderful program. In fact, when you were talking and then Nicole spoke, I was thinking about this morning when I was on a walk and I saw the Boys and Girls Club bus. That was the first thing that came to my mind. And in the school system, because in the school system you have a much wider cross-section of our society here. There's an old story about, teach them while they're young. Mm-hmm. So it's an amazing program, and thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Well, we look forward to hearing more from the program as it keeps evolving. So, Lisa, thanks again for being a part of our community and what the gifts you bring.
Well, thank you, Barry, for this opportunity.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are moving into public comment. Are there any people that wish to address the commission today? Jenny, please.
Jenny Duvall, Fargo citizen, and I'm here again on racial covenants, and the staff is going to report on that later, which is very good. NPR had a program this week and talked about how pervasive they are all over the U.S., and especially Minneapolis, and they are mapping all of these deeds, and you can actually go and find out about this at www.mapproject.org. And NPR also suggested that we watch Jim Crow of the North. It's a video online. It's a PBS presentation. And I'm just wondering why Minneapolis is mapping all these projects. So let's pretend that I'm an African American and I'm a little girl, and I won't be able to go to a certain school, and I won't be able to play in a certain park. And my family won't be able to have credit established to them because they're in a redlining district. And also, my family will not have any wealth to pass down to the next generation. So if we're wondering why all these folks are so marginalized, it almost starts with housing discrimination. So even though this report is going to say they're illegal, I just wonder, they're all in private contracts, all in deeds, and I think there could be somehow a lawsuit. There were pictures online, and it would say, no Turks, no Moors, Japanese, no Chinese, and no Jews. It just covered this amazing amount of people. It's hard to believe that in today, when we're trying to be so open and loving everyone, that we find these deeds. So they even mention Raisin in the Sun as it's a play and a book to look at about a family who couldn't move into a certain district. So I'll be glad to hear this staff report.
Great. Thank you, Jenny. Thanks for bringing it to our attention in the first place and holding us accountable as we go on until you achieve, the rest of us achieve satisfaction that we've adequately dealt with it. So thank you. And you'll stay here for that report. And we'll look forward to your response then too. Any other public comment at this point? If not, we're going to move into our budget review and proposals. And we have Nicole, you're going to give us a brief summary of the city's budget timeline process, correct?
Yes, I am, but I'm a little unprepared. So I'm going to step up to the mic. I just wanted to provide the overview of the calendar as it relates to the HRC and budget. And so this year, our budget proposal went through to the budget committee, and that was about a month ago. And on Monday night, the city commission heard the mayor's presentation of that budget. And I'm going to ask Commissioner Strahan to correct me, but I believe the public hearing to kind of ratify that budget, or to hear the public comments on that budget and to have more dialogue amongst the commissioners, is September 9th, I believe.
Not sure.
Okay, and we'll confirm that date, but I believe it's the September 9th City Commission agenda. And so basically our ask from the planning department, this is our annual, just to kind of review the calendar and timeline. Once a year, the planning department presents kind of their organization outline, as well as any department capital asks, operational asks, procedural things, and this year we focused mostly on procedural items and didn't really have a big capital ask or a budget increase request. We did ask for a staff person to be kind of jointly funded through HUD money and, I said HUD federal funds and a portion of the budget that is affecting all of our boards and commissions. So if you will think of it as a administration cost, for lack of a better term. So I'm looking across all the budgets that I manage in the department, and if I were to take about 5 to 10% of that to help staff a position in conjunction, that would get me maybe half a position, and then the rest of that half a position come from CDBG HUD money and fully capture that grant. So it'd be a 50% grant funded general fund position. So far that looks like that's going to be approved, which will be good because we'll get another staff person to help support the boards and commissions and the active work that you do. So there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 46 positions requested from the city staff members and our department heads, and right now only I believe 5 are being estimated to be approved, and ours is one of them. So we feel pretty blessed so far, and so we'll have more finalization on that budget towards the end of September. So there's a public hearing, and then 2 weeks later there'll be like final action. So if you're interested in those dates, let me know, and it'll of course be the city commission agenda as it gets published. But right now it's under basically deliberation amongst the city commissioners and the mayor and the budget committee, and staff as a planning department is kind of out of the discussion at this point. But I just wanted to use this opportunity to remind us that as we look in strategic planning and work planning for the work of the Human Relations Commission, it's never too early to be thinking about the future. I am a planner, so I guess that's where I'm usually at, and mentally. And so with that, it's as early as May that we're starting to think about what those asks are going to be. And so if we think about our work plan activities and activities we want to do for 2020, it's to be thinking about those kind of things. So really, this would be approval of the 2020 funds. And so by this time, I would say by January, we should be thinking about what we want to do in 2021. And so it's kind of hard because we're in the present moment, which is good, but and we're kind of thinking 30 days ahead and 30 days behind, but we want to start thinking about 2021. So I know as an example with the MLK Day, our highest, kind of most star-oriented, what's the word I'm looking for? Pride, event that we are so proud of. I know at the conclusion of last year's, or earlier this winter, MLK event, we had a wrap-up session that talked about maybe some new ideas and new thoughts that might include some additional costs. And those are the kinds of things where we want to start thinking about for 2021's MLK event, or adjusting the existing budget as it sits today. So tying to the existing budget, we thought we'd also use, in your packet is kind of a snapshot of where we're at with the existing budget and where money has been spent to date and where we have money yet to spend. This is a budget that you have approved earlier in the year. And so just as a status update, we have about $6,500 that's unallocated, or it's allocated, just not spent. And if you want to make any of those adjustments or changes, you just need to let us know. But this is kind of our ticker, if you will, of where we're at with the budget. I'm here to answer any questions or if you want to give us any direction that you'd like for future discussions or thinking about our strategic plan and work plan as it relates to budgeting. I'd be all ears with that too.
Good, thank you, Nicole. Questions from the commission? I just need to clarify, the fiscal year is January 1, right?
Yeah.
Correct, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's helpful to be reminded, I think, yes. Oftentimes when we start thinking about the next year's budget, that's too late.
Yeah, it's all a learning curve for all of us. The year just moves so darn fast. And so we'll now, we've got for the first time, I would just say in a year and a half, we're fully staffed. And so, you've seen a lot of new faces in our department. And so I will say we're getting more organized, so we'll be prompting you for when to start thinking about those things as well. So don't feel like you have to remember this calendar. We've kind of integrated into our operational system how to start asking these questions earlier as well.
Sure. Would we notice a difference with if the additional staff person is approved? Would that be reflected how with us as one of the commissions?
I would say probably our hope would be more consistency and quicker responses from the staff level, and we're all ears on how we can provide more support for you.
Good, thank you. I've been very satisfied with your staff at this point, so thank you.
Yeah, we're trying our best, but we know there's things that fall through the cracks, as well as we're stretched pretty thin, and but we certainly appreciate your support.
Great.
Just a quick question. And about the budget, like let's say, and towards the end, if we have like 1,000 left over to the next budget year, does it roll over or we lose that?
That's a great question. And actually, I think I was supposed to add to this presentation to talk about the purchase policy process. And thank you for reminding me that. So our purchase policy process also connects to the budget. So if we think about financial management in the city of Fargo, the best way I can look at it is we look at it for all of the general funds that come to the planning department. And if I refer to fund, to 2010, that's basically our count number. And so all of our general funds, as they get allocated to different commissions, we'll see a start of that fund being in January, and by year end, our goal is 0. The city does not have a rollover process. So if we're left with a balance of $1,000, it gets absorbed into other expenses. And what our finance director's job is really, and my job too as a whole, to look at our entire budget, is there's some boards and commissions that might be going over or under as well. So we look at the bottom line as well. So I would say you could be rest assured that if we don't spend that $1,000, it's just going back to the fund. We might borrow against to maybe the Native American Commission has something that they need, or we have some training expenses, or we have some other. So we look at this general fund as kind of a whole. And so right now our 16,000 is a estimated guide, and so that's where I use that terminology of, try not to let that 16,000 be your defining boundary, as well as more of learning more from you what you want your goals and dreams and activities to be. Our job is to follow the purchase policy. Our purchase policy basically, I'm going to use rough numbers, but from a small amount of money, say $0 to $3,000, we're responsible for getting quotes or having activities. For another level, we have to get to City Commission for approval, or we go to the Finance Committee for approval. So even though you're providing guidance and making decisions on how to spend these monies, at the end of the day, I have to follow the purchase policy and process those costs accordingly. So I might have just got a little long-winded there, and I'd be glad to kind of map that out in with a little bit more clarity.
Thank you.
I don't have a question, but you were talking about the staff and the possibility of adding one. And what I'd like to say right now is thank you very much for the assistance that we receive for the staff now. I do understand that you've been shorthanded. And I'd especially like to point out for Catlin, for the Pride in the Park. We definitely upped our game this year, and she's a large part of why we did. And so I really appreciate it that we had more interaction than we did last year, and I hope that we continue to do that. So thank you very much, Catlin, for your help.
Thank you, Cheryl. We would agree. We're very glad to have Catlin.
Any additional? Thank you, Nicole. Moving into the next item, and we do have two sponsorship requests to consider. One is with the HRV Awareness Walk and then the Tadeko Group. And I believe we have, Ryan, are you with us today? So we have the request in front of us. We talked about this at executive committee. And I guess I'll speak for myself. I'm kind of a person coming from the lack of awareness. There were some questions came up. So thank you for coming in today and letting us know about this event coming up and the organization sponsoring it.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Great. So I think the questions that I mainly had brought up was that, just to kind of some of the terms that were being used as far as what the money was going to be used. You're raising money for access to healthcare services, support services, educational opportunities. So if you could maybe talk a little bit more about that, how people are referred, who is a targeted clientele, those kinds of aspects?
Yeah, so basically what our organization is the North Dakota the North Dakota Community Planning Group for HIV and viral hepatitis prevention, along with RAN, which is the other organization that we partner with. We work out in the community to test people to get their awareness around HIV. We also make sure that they're tested, because one of the best prevention methods of preventing the spread of HIV and AIDS is getting to knowing your status. We also work with people that are living with HIV to get them access to care, be able to afford the medications that are necessary to keep them virally suppressed so that they can also prevent the spread of HIV. We also provide outreach events for just different groups that we also have, that we provide places for people living with HIV can converse with each other and make them more part of the community and know that they're not alone. The sole purpose of our current sponsorship walk, or our walk, is that we are trying to make awareness out in the community and reduce the stigma around HIV. There's still a lot of people that think that HIV is still a death sentence and that it can be spread by touching somebody and stuff like that. There's still a lot of misnomers out there which are really false, and we want to educate the community about that and educate the community that people living with HIV live very long and successful lives and you can't tell they look like you and me. So the purpose of the sponsorship is to help us fund the walk, to continue to create awareness about HIV and to continue to reduce the stigma and help prevent the spread of HIV. And this walk, we're also asking, the funds will help us be able to provide access to different events like Camp Benedict in Minnesota, so we can send people living with HIV there to meet with other individuals living with HIV so they can provide a good social experience with them. So,
Thank you. I see that this is your second annual, so that means you've already had one under your belt, and this will be the second one. Do you have a goal that you hope to raise money?
We don't really have a monetary goal. Our goal is more about getting the number of people out to the event to create awareness and reduce the stigma. So that's our goal, is to get this out to as many people as we can. The purpose of the sponsorship is more to offset our costs for this event, and if we have extra money, we would like to also be able to provide it for other events and help offset those costs as well. Because we do have a budget that comes from our HIV grant that we get from the federal government through NDCPG. And the purpose of it is just to kind of offset those costs so we can use those funds elsewhere as well. But this is part of our mission as well.
And it's September 10th is the day of the awareness walk, and it's at Island Park.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Any idea what participation level you're looking to achieve?
We had 75 individuals attend last year, so we're hoping to at least try to double that. So we're hoping for 150.
Okay. Okay.
So it might be a lofty goal, but that's what we're hoping for at this moment.
Okay. Great. Other questions? All right. Thank you. Thanks again for coming in person, Ryan.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, so we have the application request in front of us. I'm looking at both and/or because I mentioned the other one is Sodeco Group. So the request from the HIV Awareness Walk is a sponsorship. The silver level sponsorship level is $250. I'm going to just kind of condense that then with the Sodeco Group, which they've requested money to us in the past, from us in the past. They're requesting $250 for their back-to-school event. I think we reached out to them too, but they're unable to be with us today. We're trying to elevate our level of engagement with people who are asking money from us, and maybe we'll ask people to come back and tell us how it went afterwards as well, just to kind of keep us in the loop. But so, any questions from the commission? Leticia, do you have it in front of you? Do you see the requests, or did you get the packet by email? Okay.
Yes, thank you for checking.
Thank you. So, questions on either two of the requests? And if not, I'm looking also for indication from commissions as to how to take action on the requests as well, either individually or together.
I would say,
What? I don't understand hand language.
I think for the minutes, individual motions would be easiest.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you for clarification. So since we just heard from Ryan, let's take the request from the North Dakota CPG.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, this is Leticia. So this is a cause that's very close to my heart, mostly because I grew up in countries where HIV prevalence is in your face. So, and I know, for having worked at a community action agency, which had a program, around awareness, HIV awareness in our area. I know that it's also a reality in our community, but rarely do we speak about it. So I think this is a cause that we should support. So I would like to make a motion to maybe sponsor at a silver level, because it's usually around that amount that we donate to other causes. I would like to make a motion to support the HIV Awareness Walk at the silver level sponsorship.
The $250. Thank you, Leticia.
Level.
All right. Do we have a second to that motion?
I would second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving a $250 donation to the HIV Awareness Walk indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. And we can certainly try to make efforts to promote this event as well, so that the word can get out and we can get people there. Thank you. All right, then we have the request from the Sodeco Group. We have the information in front of you, this description of the organization and what they are specifically asking for. They are looking to provide school supplies for children as they're going off to school. As I said, we have supported this in the past as well. So, can I see a motion on this request?
And I will move a motion to approve the 250.
The 250, okay. There's a motion made by Abdiwali to approve $250. Is there a second?
I would second that.
All right. Any discussion on this request? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve $250 for the Sodeco Group indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. We will get that information back to them as well. We have then other business, which is the Pride in the Park report. And as Cheryl's indicated, there was an attempt to make it more interactive this year. Overall, I know that the event had grown. I read the newspaper article that the number of booths were increased substantially this year. Beautiful day. It looked like a really good crowd that had turned out. And the thing that we did this year was a survey, two kinds of surveys. One was a quick one in terms of evaluating the community in terms of response to LGBTQ plus community, and then in a little more extensive group or survey where people had a chance to talk about reflecting on response to hate crimes and just overall in rating the community. And as Cheryl said, Kathleen, you put that together. Thank you. And we actually ran out of survey forms. So it was, I think we were all pleasantly surprised at how willing people were to tell us what they thought. So would you want to just do the, you compiled the results from the survey.
Yeah, so we took that informal survey and we gave the attendees the question of, when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community, how do you think Fargo is doing? And then we gave them some preset responses to drop in a bucket. So we got 203 votes in total, and so out of those, 20% said Fargo was supportive and affirmative, 36% said it allows members of the LGBTQ plus community to be open, 12% said Fargo was neutral, 8% said Fargo was curious, bordering on irritating. 15% said Fargo was subtly hostile, and 1% said Fargo was openly hostile. And we had 8% with other responses, such as uneducated, stubborn to change, or it depends. So in total, that was 23 responses, which was good. And then we also had 40 of those survey responses, and we had 15 sort of comment cards that people responded. And I don't have those results compiled, but stay tuned.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. In some ways, I'm gratified. I thought it would be, we would maybe suffer a little bit more negatively. So this was affirming. We know it's unscientific. It was at a LGBT event, but still it was an interesting way to ask people to talk to us about what they feel that we should be doing. And one of the questions we asked in the survey is, what should we be doing that we're not doing? So I look forward to those results too. And I think it was an experiment, and we need to do more of that to really get input from our community. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Kathleen.
Thanks.
Questions about that? And Cheryl, you were at the booth for part of the time, most of the time?
I was at the booth, and it was much more rewarding than the past 2 years being at the booth, because we had a lot more interaction with the crowd that was going by. It also gave us a way to draw them in. You know, as people walk by, we ask them if they would like to be a participate, or would like to participate. Or as Paul started, are you an opinionated person? And can we get that opinion? And it was just more for me, it was just more gratifying than it was in past years. So that's the best I can say.
Yeah.
And I think other people enjoyed it. They stopped, they had conversations with us, interacted with us. It was very well done. So thank you, Catlin.
It appears Pride was very successful this year. And John, I know you're a featured speaker at the rally that closed the event on Sunday. Any comments you wish to?
You know, it's really something to see the demographic of the people attending evolve. I couldn't count how many families were there this year, and moms and dads and kids. You know, and from what I saw, I was only there Sunday, but that's just really testimony to our community that we're connecting with these young families, and it's an important issue for them in the future, especially for their own children.
Great, thank you. All right, we're moving into staff report, and Nicole will call you back again to report out on both a covenants update as well as strategic planning.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. So as the previous presenter mentioned, we only had an opportunity to kind of check in quickly with our city attorney, and I did have a chance to have a brief conversation with the mayor as well as we look at this issue. And when I mentioned it to the city attorney, maybe I should back up for those that might just be tuning in, but we received information and brought to our awareness discriminatory covenants that are on private property. And we don't know how rampant this is in Fargo or especially in our older parts, but we do know that it is rampant nationwide. And so there is lots of work being done at a national level on bringing awareness to this, as the previous presenter mentioned. And I know as staff, we pay close attention to this as we talk about equity and inclusion. And our association and professional development work is about how to work on this. So we do know that at that level that we're aware and trying to figure out how to deal with this. But at the kind of legal level, we were talking to our city attorney about it, and when I mentioned it to him, he's like, "Oh yeah, we've been." When we do title, they do title reports often, and they had just have made the declaration that this is unconstitutional. So when they do a title report, which is pretty much what covenants are used for these days, is they just strike those lines and say they're unconstitutional. And so you can't bank on them, you can't do anything. Usually, and so when we talk about the purpose of covenants is for a landowner to basically protect some levels of rights. And so that might be access rights. So if you're sharing a driveway with your neighbor, if you're who can, where your setbacks of a house might be. Say you buy a house in a neighborhood and you have open space park, and that park is owned by the collective neighborhood who has rights to use that. That's all done at a private landowner amongst their joint people that hold that title and hold that land. Bankers will do a title report when it comes to seeing what's legally relevant on that property, and in a more formal way, it's an abstract. And so just a little bit of, very tiny bit of land ownership, how that works. And so we don't really have a proposal for you and wanted to just engage in conversation if when I asked the city attorney what we can do about it, there's not much we can do about it to make someone take that off their title. It would be I don't want to make light of it, but it would, so I'm not even going to try to bring a comparison. But basically, we can't make someone change their title. I suppose we could, but it might take years and years, and we wouldn't have any legal leverage to do that. And so one thing I explored with the mayor is, just kind of a letter of awareness or a letter from him or a resolution or some sort of declaration. This connects to the work of the inclusion planning work, where we want to make people feel welcome, belonging, that this is a safe and welcoming community. And so what I would propose at the broader level is, as you know, that's one of our work plan items that we're trying to get our arms around and devote time to and work towards. Again, with the Kresge Foundation, we're working on it in certain pieces, but I would add this element to that inclusion planning effort as we trying to think about that global issue of how does Fargo become more unity-driven, more kind of inclusion and equity. So that's my immediate proposal, other than something that we can write on behalf of the Human Relations Commission or on behalf of the mayor. I know the mayor would be supportive of something like that too. So I just opened it up for conversation, but basically it's unconstitutional, and the city's not a party to them in a legal sense. Yeah.
I think, as I've thought about this is, yeah, I think it gives us an opportunity. There's times where we have opportunities to really stake our position, whether it's the commission or the city as a whole. And this would be one of those times that would come to our attention, and this is to be told that this is something that's not legal and it's not acceptable in the community. Because my other concern is, like, I think Jenny referred to this, is that there even if there is not, we have not had anyone come forward saying, I believe I was unable to purchase property because of my race, you wonder if there is some underlying invisible suppression going on, that the lack of awareness could continue perpetuating. So whatever we can do, it seems like in my mind, whatever we can do to shine light on through the mayor's office would be a good thing.
Yeah, and I think maybe as a short-term item, I think that would be maybe like something if we think about what can we do in 30, 60 days, we can certainly do something like that quickly. If we think about the long-term of what are they doing at a national level to, incentivize or encourage personal property owners to change their title, and, what are some of the ways the city is playing in that space for, again, getting that rule off their books, and so I think there's lots of researchers out there, I know lots of universities are doing research in this world, and so we certainly can learn from best practices as, again, as Jenny mentioned, the mapping exercise to bring awareness, and the public campaigns, and those kinds of tools. And so just kind of looking at a collective of what are those tools that we can use to bring forward as a incentive or encouragement to make, I'm guessing most people don't even know they're there. Right. And, I actually don't know what's on my title, and so it's about how to clean that up.
So, the intent of the commission, I'm entertaining that we at least pass a resolution asking the mayor to make a statement stating what we know, that this was found and that this is in fact constitutional, and that we're going to go forward to examine it more closely, something of that sort.
I think that would be excellent, because at this point, like, the city doesn't even know how many are out there. And as Barry said, to shine a light on it may also give people the incentive to see. It may identify more covenants, and that would be in the best interest to know where they exist, and let them know that it's not valid. It's unconstitutional. So I would make a motion that we definitely notify the public through the mayor, and he can use our commission as backup.
Okay. I don't know if you can capture that motion, but the intent of it, perhaps?
Yeah.
Do we have a second to that?
I second.
Okay, thank you. And do we have a discussion on this? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you. So we could help with the language, perhaps. Okay. And then some discussion on the thought is we went through a very deliberate and facilitated strategic planning. We have a document that indicated that, and we're going to piece it out over time now. So you were going to share a piece of it today.
Yeah, so just a small piece today. So first of all, as part of the mayor's budget presentation, one of the things that the city staff is very excited about is for the first time since I've been here 12 years, where the mayor, as part of that budget, initiated 5 goals, or 5, kind of overarching goals. And that includes 1, creating an engaged community, 2, promoting smart growth, 3, continuing to operate as the regional leader, 4, ensuring a safe city for everyone, and 5, maintaining nationally recognized service of excellence. And what we like about those 5 goals is that gives us a framework to put the work that the Human Relations Commission and the Planning Department does under those 5 goals. And not that they have to marry up exactly, but it gives us some framework and guidance on a strategic plan for the city of Fargo. And so when you hear the mayor's presentation on the budget, you'll see a lot of decisions and initiatives based on these 5 goals. And so I would say there's probably there's probably no work we're not doing that doesn't fit in those 5 goals. So I wouldn't be worried about having to change anything we're doing, but it just gives us some extra strength. And so I look forward to integrating that into some of the beginning stages of the strategic plan. Second, as a very small step, we handed out a draft of the bylaws. And so, and we just talk about order of business, the Human Relations Commission about 2 years ago adopted these bylaws. And I think there was this understanding that they needed to go to the city commission for ratification or approval, which they do not. You just need to approve them, and we're going to format them with a signature and date, and these are your bylaws. And you'll see there's nothing really rocket science about these draft bylaws, but I hand them out to you today, not necessarily looking for action, but as a draft. And so these are the previous bylaws that were adopted, and I've had a couple staff edits in there for your consideration. And if there's other language or edits, we'll be looking for those from you, and we can present those at the next Human Relations Commission and get those adopted if you're so ready to do so. What I'm really excited about that is it gives us another layer of just business practices. That's one of our goals we're trying to do across the board with all of the boards and commissions that we staff. So as a little bit of a snapshot, the city planning department, we staff about 13 boards and commissions. Only about 4 of them have bylaws. And so we would like to start to get that standard of business when it comes to just to know where we're at and what we're doing is a little bit of a guiding document. And so these are pretty basic, but by all means, if there's an oversight or if this sitting Human Relations Commission is different than the one that approved these, then we would, if there's needs for other dialogue, I'd be open to that as well.
So to clarify, Nicole, what I'm reading with the bylaws is that, again, you're saying that we basically have the authority to approve our own bylaws, but one of the items in here which does describe membership would need to be presented for, as it says, it needs to be codified by ordinance.
Yeah,
So
and
that's all
I
a piece
believe
of the
there's some,
bylaws.
I'm going to do some double checking to see if that might be already codified. But yeah, all of our boards are codified by their membership of some sort, or that's our goal, is to get that codified, so.
All right.
And so if it's not, then we would then make a code ordinance change on that nature,
Okay.
so.
Good.
So just a technical review, and then we're hoping for next month. I'll give you a little bit more updates and have a chance. I wasn't able to make the executive committee, but I'll engage in more discussion about next steps for the strategic plan and more further. We have some priorities ranked in our office, and would like to share those with you.
Good. I mean, we'll move it further up into the agenda, so it's not at the end where we're feeling like
Well,
we're
that's the reason we
crunched for
write it all.
time.
Well, and that's the reason we write it all out, so that if you
Yeah.
ever need to cut me short, you can just cut me short, and you've got it written down.
Yeah.
And so.
Okay, right, thank you. Yeah. Okay, we do have a question, Nicole.
Oh, sorry. And on Article number 3 about Human Relations Commission meeting, on 3.1 says that regular scheduled meeting should be like on the second Thursday of the month. Is that changing, or it has been third, right?
Are we third? Okay, sorry, meant third. Yeah. No, it's not changing. Yeah.
Okay. It says second, but I think it was third Thursday of the month.
Yeah, we are the third Thursday. Today is the third Thursday. Yeah, yeah.
Second.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. All right, do we have any more public comment? Hearing none, just point of order, I'd like to make a couple announcements. One is that you're all invited to come to the Hodo this evening, 5 to 7:30. North Dakota Human Rights Coalition is having their Evening of Possibilities fundraiser. It's a fun place to hang out. Food and wine is provided. And then I just want to leave this with all of you. There is a planning in place for the second annual North Dakota LGBTQ plus summit in Mandan, October 4th through the 6th. And just like to, I'm going to leave cards with everybody here and ask you to help promote that event. It was held last year and had a really fantastic response, so it's only going to grow and get better. So anything else for the good of the group? Hearing none, the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.